Hi, I'd like to talk to you about pathfinding in SimCity. Now, it's currently about a week or two after release, and SimCity had a really rough launch. They had server problems, people were getting disconnected, cities rolled back, but most of that's been worked out, okay? The server problems are being largely taken care of, and now a new type of complaint's coming to light. People are complaining about how Sims go to work at a different place every day, come home to a different house than they left. People are complaining about how all the police will rush off to the same crime location. People are complaining about some stupid pathfinding that happens when the people are trying to get to a destination. There's a great YouTube video that does something along these lines. You've got a stadium here, and then you've got the freeway entrance up here, and all the tourists come pouring along this giant 6-lane avenue, and they come in and they reach the stadium, and it all works fine until the person installs a little dirt road shortcut, and then traffic goes to hell. Everybody gets snarled up in traffic here, where they all turn onto the dirt road shortcut, get snarled up, and then traffic's okay from there on out because they're back onto the 6-lane avenue. And this is just stupid. I mean, these Sims are brain dead. Clearly, this is the better route. I mean, even if a couple of cars might do better by taking this little dirt road shortcut, at least once they see all the horrible traffic, they should be going straight. So they're dumb because they're not taking into account traffic, and they're dumb because, I mean, generally the Sims should just stick to the main road and not take what's obviously a side street just for a mini little shortcut. They certainly shouldn't all be doing it at once, because this is ruining traffic in their city. I mean, this is creating massive traffic in their city. So this is bad. I mean, Sims should prefer main avenues, and they should avoid traffic. And the other problem of all the city services, all the police rush off to one location, of Sims going to different homes every day, there's a particularly ugly interaction with that, one that I've seen described by one of the developers, where you can actually have Sims, they're going to work, they get on the bus because they know the bus will lead them to open workplaces, but it's all a mad rush to claim the jobs. And all the jobs get claimed before, all the jobs within walking distance of a bus stop get claimed before they can get on, arrive at a place and get a job. So they stay on the bus because there's no legitimate place for them to get off. The bus goes back to the station, and hordes of people get off the bus and just start walking to work on the other side of town. And this can happen because the jobs aren't claimed when they set out. Now, this might all be thinking, a lot of people, especially on like Reddit and other places where it's good to be, angry at developers and very self-righteous and indignant. You know who I'm talking about. And I say that even to you who, very tongue-in-cheek to you who are participants in this. It's good to say, oh, Maxis is dumb. Why did they do this? It's a big betrayal. How could you possibly have these Sims going to a different place every day? I mean, this is just stupid. Oh, the AI is so dumb. What were they thinking? And so I want to address, A, what were they thinking? Why did they do it? Is there a good reason for them to do what they did? Was it actually clever and smart to have organized things the way they did? And then B, how can they fix it? What could they do instead? What could they do to improve the system, or even rewrite the system to fix these problems, to allow Sims to go home every day, to allow Sims to avoid traffic congestion for dumb reasons like this, to allow police to go to different destinations and all this stuff? What could they do to make the city still run fast, not have huge performance issues, but actually have Sims behave intelligently? Is it possible? And if so, how? That's what this video is about. So, the naive solution, what you might think is what Maxis should have done, is to say, okay, I've got this standard city, it's a grid, I've got a grid city here. All right. And everybody who has a place that they live, everybody has a place they live, and they have a place they work. We'll say they work in this industrial place, and then they have a place where they maybe they have multiple places they shop or something. Maybe they don't claim shopping places. Maybe they do just flow to shopping malls. But they at least have a place they live and a place they work, and they claim these places and they go to them. And nobody else can take their job by getting there first in a day. And then when they set out, they should take the shortest path to their work. Maybe they avoid dirt roads if there's, smart things. Maybe they turn around traffic if that's wise to do so. And then they arrive at their job each day. And then they go home to the same house each day, even if there are closer houses, and it all acts reasonably. And Sims don't rush off and then get stuck because they tried to go after a job which got taken by the next person in line in front of them, and now they have to turn around and go someplace else, and it doesn't turn into like Black Friday frantic shoppers trampling each other in your city, doesn't get snarled up in traffic. And I call that the naive solution. Why? Because their goal was to simulate thousands of Sims. It's easy enough to have a Sim step outside his house and find his way from point A to point B and then travel down that path. That's not a difficult problem. It's simple pathfinding. You can use A star, build a graph of the city, and then use A star and travel down that graph. Real easy. It's a lot harder when you've got thousands. Well, I say harder. It's expensive when you've got thousands. It's actually really easy. You just do it thousands of times in a row. The problem is it chugs your computer. Anybody who's played Dwarf Fortress has probably experienced that as it scales up, things start to chug a bit. All the memory access, all the different pathfinding is particularly expensive. It is very costly to simulate the AI of thousands and thousands and thousands of Sims. So what they do instead is they say the Sims are dumb, but the world is smart. The city is very smart. The city knows that there are jobs here, and that the jobs are, roughly in that direction, lots of jobs that way. Maybe there's a couple of jobs that way, but mostly the jobs are that way. And so when the person leaves their house, they then follow the jobs. They go, oh yeah, the city knows there's jobs over here. I want a job. And then they go and they get a job. But it creates a lot of these problems that you know about. And the advantage, though, is that now instead of having smart thousands and thousands of actors all acting smart, instead they can act dumb as anything. Dumb as cows, dumb as shit. I mean, we've got our whole joke about how the Sims are all just as dumb as sewage agents in the pipes, so they're literally dumb as shit. I mean, okay, so it's true. The Sims are really dumb, but the city's smart. And so the Sims roughly, when you zoom out to the city scale, the Sims roughly act in a fairly intelligent manner. Most get to work. Most go shopping. Most get home well, all of them will eventually get home at night. One hopes. But it may not be to where they came out. So the Sims are all just like these mindless agents that go along and simulate the flow of people going to work and going home. It's very clever, and it allows them to have tons of people. Could this be done better? Could they have just as many people and actually have them all have fixed places of work? It seems impossible because they can't be that smart because it's too expensive. But what if that cost of finding that path were free? What if the path was already known and they didn't have to store in personal memory for thousands of Sims? Everyone knows how to get to work. What if the city knows how you get from here to here already? And the Sim just has to say, how do I get there? And the city says, oh, this way. And the Sim knows he wants to get there because that's where his job is. And the Sim can request this location, and they don't have to find the path because the city already knows the path. That's how the city is smart. So that's what I'm suggesting. Now, this is a problem called the you find all pairs of points on a graph, and you find the shortest path from every point to every other point. So if I start here, I can request here, the city will tell me how to get there. I can start here, I can request there, the city will tell me how to get there. Now that might sound expensive because right now Sims are really dumb. They just say, do I turn left or do I turn right? Well, there's more jobs to the left. I'm turning left. So the Sims will go to the left. Finding a whole path is expensive, but actually that's basically what they say. The Sim says, I want to get here. Which way do I go? And the city says, go left. They're like a GPS system. And the GPS system is in common for all the Sims. They just put in, I want to go to point C. GPS, which way do I go? Turn left at next intersection. What if we could do that? Then we could have thousands and thousands of Sims. They wouldn't need to be smart. They could still be dumb as a sack of bricks, but they could actually go to specific locations, claim their job before they set forth so that you don't get people stuck on buses and there's no jobs on the bus line anymore. And they didn't know that because there were jobs when they got on the bus, but everybody rushed and claimed their jobs for them. And oh my God, somebody else is at my house. I'll just go to their house instead. I don't have a house. I'm homeless if I can't get home, that type of thing. This type of thing will be avoided if Sims just know where they work, know where they live, and they don't have to think about how to get there. So what we do is we make a table, and this is the solution. This is what we construct. We make a table, and let's make a little simulated city, SimCity, if you will, and we'll go from A, B, C, D. I'm labeling the intersections, E, and then I'm going to put a weight on these connections. So from A to D costs 1, A to B is 1, B to C is 1, 1, and this one will be 1.5. I know it's square root of 2, but let's say this is a worse quality road. So we'll say this is 1.5. And then if I want a path from any location, then I look up, I look at each of my possible directions, C, D, E, and I'll have this table where I can, along the left side, I can look at any intersection, and then along the top side, I can look at any other intersection. And I can say, okay, I'm at E, and I want to get to D. How do I get there? I say E. I could go to B. Now, if I go to B, how do I get to D? And B, instead of saying, how do I get to D, B will just say, oh, it's 2 steps to D. And I go to C. How far is it to D? C says, I'm 1 step to D. And then at E, I look, okay, it costs me 1 to go to B, and then that's 2 steps. So that's a total of 3 points of cost to take that route. And if I go to C, then it's 1.5 points to go to C because it's a longer road. It's this diagonal. It's a lower quality road. And then, but that's only 1 point away. So that's a total of 2.5 points. And I say, that's cheaper. So I'm going to path to C. I don't have to know what the rest of the path is. I just path to C. And this stuff is all pre-built into this table. All these costs, the minimum cost of every location to every other location is pre-constructed in this table. And I can actually just like snap this together for you real quick. And I'll do a little E. We can make that, extend these over. We'll go 2, 1, 1.5, 2.5, 0. This whole diagonal is going to be zeros because it's always 0 cost to go to your own intersection, right? And then 1, 1, 1, 2.5. It's actually is reflected along this diagonal because we have streets that are equally, we don't have one-way streets basically. If we had one-way streets, we'd need the whole table. In this case, we could actually just take like half the table, like one of these diagonals, since it's two-way streets. But anyway, setting that aside, we construct this table, and this builds in all the information on how to get from anywhere in the city to anywhere else in the city. And it's actually really cheap in computer power to do lookups on this table. The only catch is this table gets big. If I have a grid city, and I have 10 down this side, 10 streets down the side. I don't know if that's actually 10. Oh, I might have done actually 10. And then I have 10 along this side. Then I have 100 intersections. Ooh, did I actually? No, I did 11, I think. Anyway, you have 100 intersections. And each of those intersections needs to be able to look up each other intersection. That's a lot of intersections. So you're going to, that's a lot of things you can look up. So 100 by 100, and you're looking at 10,000 elements in this table. If you want to quadruple the size of your city, so you make a 10 by 10 city into a 20 by 20 city, so then this becomes just a quarter of your former city. Well, now you've got 160,000 elements in this table. So this table gets quite big as the city gets bigger. But Pathfinding is really cheap for all the sims. And in fact, it doesn't get more expensive as you add more sims. Well, it gets just a tiny bit because you have to have each sim look up, how do I go where I'm going? But that lookup request is really, really cheap. It's very fast to do that lookup request. Because they don't actually have to search out the path. They don't have to allocate any memory. That's a very expensive operation. They don't have to explore, looking around, going deep, taking wrong turns. They just have to ask, neighbor, how far are you from the exit? Neighbor, how far are you from the exit? I think I'll go left then. It's very cheap. And by doing this, we can have sims make specific requests. So sims can go from one building to the next. They can have the same job in the morning and each day. They can go home the same place that they left in the first place. You can actually enable these behaviors because now you can do massive quantities of point-to-point pathfinding requests. Because instead of the city being intelligent about, well, vaguely, there's jobs in this area. You should come in this way if you want jobs. Oops, sorry, somebody took all the jobs. Now you should try in that way. The city is now intelligent on the GPS of the city, how you navigate the city. Where do you want to go? Oh, 3rd and Pine. All right, here's how you get to 3rd and Pine. Turn left from where you currently are. It acts that way. And so now you can have smart sims. Doing this, it's also much easier. You just get to say, plug your police into the same system, and the police can be smart, and the police just say, all right, I'm going to crime number 2. Crime number 2 is on 3rd and Pine. How do I get to 3rd and Pine? GPS system tells them that, and then you tell the next cop, what are you doing? Next cop says, well, crime number 2 is already claimed. I'm just going to go patrolling. Cool. Uh-oh, now there's a 3rd crime. Crime number 3. Oh, well, that's on 17th and Oak. And then how do I get there? And the city's GPS just tells them, turn right. And then they follow along. So that solves that problem. And by adding additional weight based on the quality of the road, so say this is a dirt road, we might increase this to like 3.5 or something. Then we can encourage sims to actually take other routes instead. And this will help to alleviate this problem where sims jam themselves up on side streets that they shouldn't be taking in the first place. But that doesn't completely solve the problem, because I can construct another situation that doesn't make use of differing road types, where sims still seem like they're being dumb. And the best one that I've come up with is one where you have a road that comes in like this, and then you have a sort of a football road, or a circle even. Yeah, you have a circle, a roundabout, and then it comes out on the other end. And let's say that I drew this right, and these are equally distant to go left and to go right to reach the end. But the Sims, or even they're not equally distant, but the Sims all go to the right, and then they jam up, and it's a huge traffic jam. Now, some Sims, some enterprising Sims, might, maybe, we would imagine in the real world, come to this intersection and say, left has no traffic jam, right has a traffic jam. Sure, the roads are the same quality, but I think I'll try my luck going to the left because I can. I'll give you an even better example, because this is one that plays off of the avenue, the preferring avenues and larger roads. So we're going to have a grid city that looks like this. And my sim wants to go from point A to point B. And there's this big main avenue in the middle. Now, on a normal work day, I want my sim to come down to the avenue and drive on the avenue in their effort to go to work. Because the avenue's cheaper, it has higher traffic capacity, we should generally be preferring the avenue. However, today somebody's turned on the stadium and they've caused a massive snarl of traffic as all the tourists try to go to the stadium. And my sim wants to get home from work, all right? My sim does not go into the stadium. They're just trying to get home from work. So they come up, their path says come up and then take a right along this avenue, because avenues are cheaper, and follow it there. But, okay, let's say both lanes are snarled with traffic. My sim then sees, oh, massive traffic. Do they take a right? Well, if we proceed naively, they will. They'll just proceed and they'll join the traffic. But would you do that? I mean, come on. You could just go straight, take the side street, and get there in just as good time. You could improvise a little bit. So what you can have Sims do is they can just, once you have this table set up, it's super easy. It's like cheap as free for them to do a little bit of traffic checking. When they come to an intersection, they look ahead to the other intersections like normal, and they say, okay, what's the distance from here to A? What's the distance from here to A? Following the paths, of course, so not like I drew them. That's what they normally do. And they say, oh, okay, this one's shorter because it gets to take the avenue, but, and the route to get there is shorter because it's along the avenue, but this one has huge traffic on the immediate leg in front of me. So I'm going to add, another plus 10 weight to that. You can improvise whatever you want. Just going to add plus 10. So then I'm going to say, oh, I don't want to go that way. Maybe I'll try this one because this one still gets me closer to my destination. And that's important. I'll show you why in a minute. This one still gets me closer to my destination, but this one's snarled in traffic, so I'll just try this one. I'll take an alternate route. And you don't have to recalculate the alternate route, because here's the beauty of calculating all the paths in previous. It already has the route to get from this intersection to your destination pre-built in, because the city's smart. It knows every path from every intersection to every other intersection. So you can detour like this, and it costs nothing to avoid the traffic. You don't have to recompute your path. The path already is computed. You're not computing any paths because it's already done. Because the city's clever like that. It can already support you taking a detour. And now the catch with this is you need to have sanity checks on any detours. So if I come down to this big main avenue and it's snarled in traffic, and I am taking this road down. Oops, let's use the black color. I'm taking this road down, and I say, okay, I want to go to the left. Ooh, let's use a slightly bigger one so you can see my pen. I want to go to the left. I want to go this way, but it's snarled in traffic. So which way do I turn? Well, I look at whatever the next intersection, say it's down there, and whatever the next intersection, say it's over there, and I say, can I get there from here? And let's say this one goes off, and it doesn't actually lead to where I'm going at all. then I should say, oh, I guess I'll have to join the traffic. But if I'm not careful using this lookup table, I'll say, well, this one's snarled in traffic, so I add plus 10 to the distance here. This one's less than 10. This one's actually closer once I add plus 10 to this one, so I'm going to come down here. Now, that's because these distances just say what's the shortest path from here to there. Well, there is a path to get from there to there. You can get there, but it involves going that way and turning left. But that information isn't embedded in that number, and it doesn't have to be. You don't need that information. You just need to be careful when you detour to not detour further away than the intersection you're currently at. You can avoid this entirely if you just make sure that when you get to this intersection, if this location right here has a further distance than where you currently are, you may not detour there, no matter how bad the traffic is in the direction you're going. So you just apply that rule and you're fine. Your Sims can actually intelligently avoid traffic. When I go to work and I see, oh my God, my normal route is snarled in traffic, I just detour around it and compute my path continuing from there. And it costs me nothing to do it. It's free. Sims can be smart. They can avoid traffic. And they'll actually go home to the same location every night, and it costs them nothing. Now there's no free lunch. I mentioned this table can get big, right? And I said that's the only problem. That's actually not the only problem. People who are familiar with this pathfinding stuff might have been shaking their heads and already dismissed stuff by now. There's actually one other big problem, and that is that it's actually really costly and expensive to pre-compute all the paths. The Boost C++ library promises they can do it in Big O, and Big O is like, you can think of it as order of magnitude, roughly the complexity of the problem of V times E log V. Now, this is, I think log is some sort of logarithm, not necessarily log base 10. V is the number of vertices in your graph in mathematical graph theory. E is the number of edges in your graph. Now, in this case, we're going from intersection to intersection. So your vertices is the number of intersections in your city. And E is the number of streets that span between two intersections. We can ignore these side ones that go off somewhere because that actually isn't something we need to take into account when computing all the shortest paths. I mean, yes, you do need to be able to path off of a building over here, but that's actually not very hard, as we'll see. This building can just look to its left and see, is there an intersection? No, is there? And then they just like path to the intersection, of course. And when there's a building here, it can actually, because this is cheap as free, doing lookups on this table, it can actually path from both of these intersections and say, oh, which one's cheaper? Oh, I'll go this way then. And when the destination's over here, each time you make a request, you can just see which one's cheaper, that one and that one. And you can always just kind of, you can always find your way to either direction, and you add a little bit for the fact that it goes there. And then once you get there, you just drive down and pull into your destination. So that's very doable. You can just do intersection to intersection pathfinding. That's like a little trick. Maxis devs know that already. They're clever. So anyway, you've got edges equal to no. Okay. So we've got vertices, one for each intersection. You've got edges, which are the roads that span between intersections. And then you've got some sort of logarithm of the number of vertices. We'll say it's I don't know, log base 2. I don't know what it actually is. So with edges, the catch to understand about edges is that in intersections in SimCity can only have a maximum of 4 roads coming out of them. And these edges are these roads that come out of the intersection. So it could be that edges is 4 times vertices, but that's not actually true because every edge connects 2 vertices. So you actually only get half that number. So you get 2 times the number of vertices is the maximum number of edges. So you actually get 2v squared because this becomes another v, so v times v is v squared, 2v squared log b. And this and then the 2 comes out because of big O notation. You can study that if you're not familiar with it separately. I don't want to rabbit hole into it, because this is only giving a rough order of magnitude, and the 2 becomes insignificant. So v squared log v, though, is really expensive. It is sufficiently expensive, the time it takes to compute this table, to calculate all paths through the city, that normally we would think this is too expensive to do for pathfinding in a game. We cannot do this. Does that apply here? Not as much as you might think. Because normally in games, we require our pathfinding to be snappy, responsive. It needs to act immediately. Well, the lookups on this table are snappy and responsive. They do act immediately. In fact, they're super fast. They're like pathfinding on steroids, you know? They are extremely fast. And forgive me, I don't endorse steroid use. Anyway, these are really fast lookups to do when you're pathfinding like that. The catch is that constructing the table is really slow, but you only have to construct the table once, or rather, you only have to construct the table when you alter the node graph, which is the street layout. So every time the player deletes streets or constructs streets, and at no other time do you have to recompute this graph. Now maybe you might say, it would be useful to recompute it when you have traffic, but that's why we use this cheap as free traffic avoidance system, so that we don't have to do that. We can avoid traffic very cheaply. All we have to do is compute it once. And this computation happens every time the player deletes or builds streets. So does that mean the game's going to hang? No, because we spin off a thread. You know, you have multi-core systems. You can spin off threads and it won't interfere with the rest of the system. It'll take a little bit as it runs in the background. Does this mean Sims will be extra dumb after you build a street? It kind of does. So what you do is you'll use the old table, and we can always have a table because this table will build instantly when you start with a new map with no streets. It builds more slowly the more streets and intersections you have. And so this map, you use the old map until you have a new one ready. And so this thing will run in the background, and Sims will, you'll bulldoze a road, and Sims won't realize it because they'll be using the old table, and they'll travel down, they'll reach the bulldozed road, and they'll go, oh, I'm lost. And they'll turn around and improvise something, and maybe wander randomly as they get lost until the new table is ready. And the new table won't take forever to compute. Computers are fast today, and even though this is a big, expensive operation, it's big and expensive in the sense that you don't normally use one when it's super time sensitive and you need your result right now. But we don't need a result right now. We can wait a little bit because a sim acting a little bit dumb and going down a road that you just bulldozed is not actually stupid. People would totally do that if you destroyed a road because they expect the road to be there. That's not dumb. What is dumb is when Sims go to work and they run into the problem of, oh, somebody took my job already and now I need to find another work and they took that job. Or Sims get on the bus and they never get off the bus until the bus returns to the depot because, oh my God, there are no workplaces along the bus route, but there were when I got on the bus. That's dumb. So the current system is when Sims act dumb. Acting a little bit dumb while we wait for the map to recompute because the player just constructed a bunch of new roads and the Sims don't know how to navigate them quite yet, that's not so bad. Sims can get a little confused and lost when you do that. And I am confident players will forgive that. I think you can decide for yourself whether that's worth it. Of course, the other catch is this takes a lot of memory, but from what we've heard, they build dozens and dozens of little graphs that they use for everything. So like you need a map of the city which shows behind the scenes. This is where the jobs are. Go this direction for jobs. This is where the shopping is. This is how you get to this type of location. This is where this much is. And so they build dozens and dozens, is what we've heard, of these behind the scenes, these little maps. Is this worse than that solution? And actually, you still need some of the maps. This won't replace everything, but it will replace some of them. It will replace many of them, and it'll give you the benefits of being able to simulate the lives of these Sims with more precision You'll be able to improve the behavior of city service vehicles. You'll be able to improve the behavior of Sims as they run into traffic and avoid problems like this. Is this better than what they're currently doing? Only Maxis can say for sure. If they tried this and it ran into problems and, oh, it's too slow, it's not responsive enough, only they can really say that. But to dismiss it because it has a large time signature and this isn't the type of thing, you can't pre-compute all paths in a real-time game, is such an easy and intuitive thing to do that I wonder if they're getting so caught up in how clever their solution is that they're not taking a sledgehammer to the problem and just getting it done. Solve all the paths and let people path through the city using GPS the same way we use GPS. Turn left at the next location. We know how to get you there. They just gotta like solve the problem with the most blunt solution they can. Compute all the paths once every time the map is edited. That's what my suggestion is. And then, have a little bit of a clever way to avoid traffic, without getting stuck going ping-ponging back and forth as you're trying to avoid traffic. That's a little side solution, but it also helps to avoid things like this. Weighing by road types helps to ensure this backup never happens in the first place. They just take the avenue. They don't crowd down side streets and jam those up. So that's my suggestion. And my explanation of why they currently do it. Because honestly, it's really expensive to do individual pathfinding for thousands and thousands of agents. So give them a bit of a break, but at the same time, there may be a better way. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. And please leave a comment if you have some grand insight, if you know that what I'm doing is dumb, if you think this is a great solution, let me know. Because, I've always got stuff I can learn and I'd be glad to learn from you too.